How you doing? My name is Kevin the Menace, and today we're gonna go over a bunch of cable types that you might run into in the world of live sound. So, to start off the list, I feel like is a pretty good starting place is the 1/4 inch cable. You know, commonly used for amplifiers, guitars, plugging into a keyboard, direct boxes, and patching cables. All use a 1/4 inch, right? But they come in two variations, if you didn't notice. This is a TRS, but let's get into TS first. TS is known as tip sleeve. Tip sleeve. Just ignore this little ring. Tip sleeve. Tip sleeve, and it is commonly used to carry out unbalanced signals. That's all it does. And it's typically used for instruments. So it's like if I want to use a bass and plug it into an amp, I want to use a TS cable because of that mono. And if I use a TRS, it might be way too loud and be a problem. But yeah, so the signal passes through whichever device without manipulation. No problem. That's its job, and it does it well. Okay, and the TRS commonly uses for monitors, more like, for hooking up monitors, and they carry out a balance signal, which does the same as a TS cable. Difference being that it passes it out in two signals, and due to it being stereo, which results in a cleaner output for amplification. Not so much instrumentation. Like I said before though, easy way to tell if it's a TRS or a TS cable is what you want to do is look. So you have the tip, you have the sleeve, but does it have the ring? And that's the R in TRS. So tip, ring, sleeve. TRS, wow. And the TS cable just has a tip and a sleeve. And that makes a world of difference. So pay attention to that. Okay, next one we'll get to is the 1/8 cable, which looks like this. Okay. And this one is also a TRS, but pretty much has the same purpose as a 1/4 inch does, but it doesn't have the same uses. Like you wouldn't hook up most instruments like this because it usually has 1/4 inch support. So I know the Roland 08 TR08 has this one. I don't know what the 808 does, but I know that the 08 does. So that's how you would get signal out of there. And so that's very important to keep up. But all the same rules apply to an 1/8 inch like TS, okay, tip sleeve, and then 1/8 inch TRS, same thing. Mostly using like older headphones now because everything's wireless. But so you got older headphones or aux cables. So if you want to look out for that, do so. All right, next thing we're going to get up into is MIDI controllers, or not MIDI controllers, but MIDI cables. And MIDI cables, they're a weird one, because MIDI cables, what they do is they send data to whatever the output is. They don't send audio signals. So, you would commonly use MIDI to either plug into another instrument to control it from there, or you would plug it into a DAW with the adapter, proper adapter, and then you'd be golden. Next one we're going to get into is USB. USB is it's okay. USB is getting a little bit outdated, as you may have noticed. USB is getting a little bit outdated, but there's nothing wrong with that because there's still equipment that uses it, such as like, oh, I gotta hook up to this computer, How am I gonna do that? A USB. Cool. Not everything is caught up to using a C port yet. So USB is really, really, really good to have, on deck, just because you don't want to be looking frantically like, man, this doesn't have Bluetooth signal, even though the Bluetooth signal isn't that good. So let me use this as soon as possible, And yeah. So USB, keep that in mind. That's how you usually get that signal. Even if it's like something simple, it's like, I just want to use this from my phone. Okay, cool. Do that. I want to play something from my phone to the stereos or to the monitor. Okay, cool. Do that. Another thing that you can run into is a C port. That's more modern, and a lot of things are definitely making the switch to C port, like even Apple, just forcefully. Your MacBook is just C port. So that's something to always keep in mind. Always keep an adapter for it, just in case. You never know when. I say all of these, keep an adapter, because you never know when you might need one signal to another or one input to another input. You just never know. And then the number one, I say the best for last, because this is the most important cable that you're going to work with in live sound, debatably. And it is Shiloh. I see. The XLR. Yes. XLR hooks up to microphones. And that's pretty important in live sound, just because no matter if you're miking up vocals, okay, that one might be wireless, but if you use a wire, vocals, drums, even the kick drum, pianos, brass, guitars, amps, all that would be used by all that would be hooked up through an XLR. And that's very, very important to have multiple of these, like have as much of these as possible without being too cluttered. And because you never know when. It's like, in my experiences, whatever can go wrong will go wrong, because it's usually, oh, why are we getting a weak signal from in the mixer? We're like, why is it showing up so bad? Like we turned up the gain all the way. Like, why is it so low? Change the cable. It's probably, what's wrong with it. And half the time, that's usually what is wrong with it. If it is, cool. Now you just gotta label it a bad cable and keep the show moving. But, it's always good to, and the cool thing is they plug into themselves. So you're able to just have multiple going if you need it. So yeah, definitely keep the most of these around, because you don't want to be in a position where you need another XLR and you don't have any more. Yeah. And also wrap these correctly because not only are they the most important, but keep them healthy. So what we're gonna do is a little post-credit scene, because that's all the cables that we might encounter into live sound. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's all of it. Welcome to the post-credit scene, you know? So first, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to learn how to wrap a cable correctly. All right, make sure this is pointing you. You do it like this, it's going to end up tangled, or you got to do it backwards. So first you want to do is the first loop. Okay, standard. Then you want to reach around like this, kind of like that, boom, there we go. And you just repeat that. Then you go first loop, second loop, and then you do first loop again until you're done. And boom, this is how you keep your cables nice and healthy without having to mess them up, because, you know, some of these are expensive. These are not cheap. So treat them as such. Treat them with some respect, and they'll treat you with some respect. And that'll be it. Thank you for listening to me ramble about cables. MIDI.